a chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up.
Good evening, hello, wherever you are, whenever you are. Welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. I hope you're all doing very, very well. We have quite a lot to talk about, to be honest with you. There's the 90 minutes of football that occurred on Saturday afternoon against Wigan. There's the managerial, I don't even know what to call it anymore, to be honest with you, that continued after the game finished and all sorts of nonsense in between and before. Referees tour will probably, when I say probably, I mean almost certainly get a Mick rant tonight. Maybe two. You tell them, no, maybe two. I don't want to tease you. But we may well. Mick, how are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm buzzing. Absolutely buzzing. I'll be even happier when the managerial stuff gets sorted. But anyway, Danny, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm a little bit confused, though. I thought this was the Arsenal Fan TV podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Social media's fun, isn't it?
It's a right laugh.
With the emphasis on the arse.
Thank you all for who has joined us. YouTube user, we'll get onto all of these topics, but YouTube users, this evening, gentlemen, can't beat officials, worst officials ever at New York Stadium. Yeah. S64 Miller's with us. We should give her a shout out as well. Grace's artwork is up. Mick's got one behind him for the Victor one. And I've got the Dan Barlaser one. Danny, you've got the Wiles one?
Yep, and the ones that my mother won on the raffle at the last charity game as well.
Let me properly give the website a plug, because we'll put it on our socials anyway. It's artbygracekelly.com. If you want some Rotherham United styled artwork for your living room, bedroom, man cave, whatever, then as Ben would say, we highly recommend it. Grace is lovely. We met her a few times. She is lovely, and her dad's great as well. So we highly recommend you help us. That's not right. So go and get some stuff, because it's brilliant. Do better than I've just done.
Christmas is coming up. Some top Christmas presents for Millers in there. Get in there. Honestly, it's great. Really, really good.
Yeah.
And that's why Mick is our marketing manager.
/ creative director.
Creative director. Yeah,
that's where we're going wrong, Mick. You're the creative director.
Yeah. That's where it all went wrong.
We all know that's just a fancy way of saying the button presser.
Yeah, it is. I don't know where to start. Shall we start with the manager stuff? Let's start with the Matt Taylor update of sorts. Danny, he said, now we need to get this right, really. BBC Devon reported that he had been offered the job. That's not what he said. He said he had been approached. Being approached and being offered the job are separate things. So we should it may end up being irrelevant, but that there is a difference between those two. First of all, you're surprised how they just went public with it and just went, yeah, I've been approached. It's very rare that happens with these type of things.
Yeah, and I think both Exeter and ourselves went into a little bit of a flap because only a few minutes after that interview went up and it did its rounds on social media, both clubs put statements out saying we can confirm that, Matty Taylor has been approached, and Exeter said they've reluctantly given us permission to speak to him, and we just said that the situation's ongoing. So I think Matt Taylor probably revealed maybe a little bit more than he should have done. But to me, that says that he's definitely interested in it. But at the same time, it also says that it's something he does have to very seriously consider, having to uproot his entire base of operations, if you like, and move it from Devon to Yorkshire, which is a drive I've done many a time, and it's not nice. He's just had a baby as well. So yeah, he has to do a lot of thinking. And as we are live right now, he will have given his verdict to the club and to Exeter. And just hopefully it's in our favour. I have had a couple of messages from mates who follow Exeter who said, I might know who your next manager is. So we will wait and see with that one. And hopefully we do get one of my Exeter mates on to talk about Matty Taylor if it is announced. Because it might turn into a bonus situation where he's decided to stay put. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. There's two parts to it, Mick. First of all, you look at the quotes, and then you listen to it. And reading the tweets, it's sort of like reading the quotes. It's sort of like it sounded like he was umming and ahhing about it. It sounded like he wasn't sure. When you actually listen to it, I thought he was very strongly leaning towards being happy with it. It's just interesting how it reads differently to how it came from his mouth. I don't know if you agree with that, to be honest with you. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult when you're writing something down, writing a quote down. It's difficult to get any context within it, isn't it? So that's one part of it, I guess, and it does. You do sort of understand more when you actually listen to the person speaking. So we'll have to wait and see whether the decision falls in our favour or whether it falls in Exeter's favour. And obviously, I mean, if it falls in Exeter's favour, I'm lucky if I'm going to just turn social media off tomorrow because Tony Stewart will be at fault for that as well. I assume. So we'll have to wait and see.
Clapper.
Say again?
I'm just calling you a happy clapper. It's fine, move on.
Well, yeah, then maybe that's the case. But there's a different breed of manager about at the moment, and it's for the better for me. In my view, it's for the better for football, and they're not all motivated by money. Clearly, money is an important part of any deal, any job. That's the only reason you've got to work ultimately. But it's not the be all and end all for some people. So we'll have to wait and see. It was a peculiar way to get this out in the open.
To me, it adds very similar tones and wording, if you like, to Warne's interview he did post Middlesbrough. That might be me getting a bit too tinfoil hatty about it, but I don't know. I saw similarities with it anyway.
Yeah. We'll see. Let's sort of round it up, Danny, by saying that this isn't Football Manager. It matters where he lives. His family matter. So that's why he's talked about his family. I understand he's just relatively recently had a child. He's lived in it. He played for Exeter for a fair while. He's managed them for, I think, 4 years now. He's clearly an ambitious manager. He clearly wants to move up the leagues. He's not a one-club man like other people are. So he is going to be at least tempted by it, but he's certainly got to think about what's best for his wife, his child, his wife's family, etc., etc. It's not, although I think it will be I think it will come. I understand he's got to think about it. I certainly do anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it'd be silly not to consider his family. Can you imagine walking back home going, oh, by the way, love, I've accepted the Rotherham job when I'm driving up there tomorrow. There will be fury in that household, wouldn't there? But yeah, it is a big thing for him to consider. And if he comes out and is honest and saying, I've turned it down because I don't want to uproot my family, then your answer will go, right, fair enough. He's coming for the job at the wrong time, sort of thing. But if he does accept it, that shows his ambition because he's then willing to move his comfy spot in Exeter, if you like, into Rotherham and then to a club where he's higher than Exeter and is probably looking up the league at this time more than Exeter is. And obviously, if he does come up here, he'll know he's got a job to do, and I honestly think he'll do it very, very effectively.
Yeah, and what I will say is he lives in Exeter. If he wants to progress as a football manager and not stay at Exeter for the rest of his career, I would have thought he would be prepared to move at some point because Exeter is not near another football club.
It's a fair drive to Plymouth.
Exactly. So I think, yes, he's got to consider his family, but I don't think it's that big of a decision because if you're going to go into football management, you're going to want to look for bigger and better jobs at certain times. So moving house is, although it is a big deal, Mick. Let's finish by it. Although it is a big deal, it's something that's going to happen anyway in the life of a football player or manager. You're going to have to move house at some point and uproot your family at some point.
It's only a big deal because it's been played out across social media, isn't it?
That's true.
10 years ago, nobody would have known any of this stuff. Nobody. So that's why it's a big deal, just because everybody's talking about it. Because we've offered a job to one person who didn't want it, all of a sudden we are, that Rotherham United inferiority complex comes bounding back for everybody, doesn't it? Look at us, we're crap, nobody wants us kind of attitude. And that's not the case at all. So everybody approaches the job differently, don't they? Everybody has different sets of values, different sets of different things that are important to them in their life. So whatever, listen, if he takes it, he takes it, brilliant. If he don't, we'll move on. So what? Doesn't matter.
See where that leaves us.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, he might take it and be sacked in 2 months.
Well, there is that as well. Yeah.
None of us have that consideration necessarily, do we? You know what I mean? None of us who take a job go into it with your eyes wide open, recognizing that in 2 months you might not have a job anymore. That doesn't happen. So it's a different kettle of fish altogether for people in that line of work. We'll see.
Shellstone apparently went to Sheffield Hallam University, so apparently knows the area well.
Funny thing, my Exeter mate has just texted me that. That's a strange coincidence.
Ian Colcove, and this is right, appreciate he has a number of things to consider, but it's not a process he should have shared publicly. Yeah, I agree. And Danny mentioned it. I don't think, there's no think about it. He shouldn't have come out and said what he did in the way he did, I think. That's not going to stop me liking him. If he gets a job on Monday, I'm still going to like him and things like that. Although I think he might have a bollocking from Mr. Stewart on Monday morning if he gets the job, potentially. Because we're really not going to play anything like that. Or we trying, from that point of view, we try not to play things like public at the club as a general rule. But let's see. Let's wait and see. We are where we are. We talk about the betting. BetVictor have stopped taking bets on the management. The market isn't there on BetVictor anymore, as far as I can see. So that may tell you they may have some information. BetVictor may not. They may not. But let's wait and see. RFC 19 says, say Matt Taylor comes in, will he bring his backroom staff? Probably. I would assume so, but there is talk that Exeter will try and promote from within for their next manager potentially. So then that throws some questions up. Will he be able to bring all of them? Blah, blah, blah. We'll have to wait and see. I think Monday, certainly Monday we'll find out. If it doesn't get announced on Monday, I think that's probably leading towards not taking the job. I don't know. Let's see where we are. And Gerald Simpson asked the question, which we'll probably talk about in the next episode because we'll know by then. She says, where does it leave us in our search and our pulling power if a second manager decides to stay put? That is an interesting question if it happens. We will find out. We'll find out probably in the next 24 hours. If you listen to this on Monday or watching this on Monday, this conversation is probably outdated. There's probably something. So you can... it's not going to be saying end, skip 30 minutes, what you didn't need to listen to, but we'll see. Anything else to add on the management news or anything like that, boys, that we haven't mentioned before we move on to soccer, football, actually? Perfect. Geraldine Simpson's with us, as I mentioned. Andrew Barlow, Kim Hayward, Chris Tether, thank you all for being with us. Dean Cately, thank you very much. Where do you want to start in the game? Let's get it out. Let's get this out of the way. Let's get the referee out of the way. For the purpose of any Wigan fans watching, we're not saying the referee is the reason that we lost the game. Let's get that front and centre. Wigan deserved to win the game, and we'll come on to the reasons why in probably 10 minutes' time. So anybody that's got upset by watching the YouTube, any Wigan fans got upset by watching our instant reaction, there wasn't a dig at you. It was not a dig at Wigan. Nobody's having a dig. It was a dig at the referee and the job that he did. That's where I sit anyway. I don't know if you boys anyway. We'll come on to that maybe in a minute. I don't like. I say we don't like having a go at referees. I mean, we do it quite a lot. But this guy on Saturday was a shocker for everybody. I was really disappointed. Having seen his card record, as we mentioned in the previous episode, not many red cards, straight red cards. I thought, you know what, we might have a referee who lets it flow a bit. Don't give too many silly fouls. You know, get someone to the game and try to get on with it. But he just had a shocker. And trying to dig into him too much. But he was very, very bad, weren't he?
Mick, take the lead.
All right, cheers, mate. Yeah, I need to be careful what I said. To be fair, I try to be balanced. I like to be balanced, but yeah, he had a shocker. It was dire, and the whole point of it is that the whole reason why he was dire, he was just so inconsistent. It beggared belief. To be fair, I mean, Brooke Norton-Cuffy got fouled I don't know how many times by McLean, and McLean did exactly the right thing. You know, he weren't going to let it pass. He fouled him, and then he realised he were going to get away with it, so he just kept doing it. So I have no issue with McLean doing it, not a problem whatsoever. But the referee just point blank refused to deal with it. You know, blatant fouls that he refused to give. But I think for me, the thing that summed his performance up perfectly was, I can't remember whether it was the first half or the second half. I can't remember when it was. But Cohen Bramall challenges for the ball. The Wigan player has both his arms around his waist, pulls him back, wins the ball. No free kick is given. Cohen Bramall puts his arms around the Wigan player's waist, pulls him back. We get this is virtually all in the same movement. Pulls him back, foul given, yellow card for Cohen Bramall. Literally within the same movement. And that for me just sums up the lack of consistency. And I know it's digging him out, and I know it's a hard job. I haven't got a problem with that. But when you see the same thing happen within seconds and then deal with it differently, that's just incompetence. It can't be anything else. So he was dire yesterday. Absolutely dire. But again, that's got nothing to do with the result. Nothing whatsoever. So, you know, but it's just not good enough. At this level, it's not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, completely agreed. Danny, anything you want to add on that?
No, I think Mick's more or less covered it. I'd like to apologise to anybody who was sat near me because I was going absolutely apoplectic at that referee. I haven't had a chance to look through the vlog footage, but if there's a lot of swearing in it, the vlog will be very short. But yeah, we've said this before about consistency with referees. We've said it on the radio, we've said it on the podcast, but that referee wasn't consistent with his application of how fouls played out. Like you say, Mick, more or less the same thing happened to one player, got away with it. Then it happened, then our players did it, and it was a foul or it was a booking or whatever. I'm still puzzled as to why Ben Wiles was booked. I think the only true booking really was Woody's because he was late in that challenge. That's the only true yellow card. But yeah, I think the main thing the referee did, I don't want to say did right, but the main thing that played into the referee's hands where he didn't have to reevaluate his own performance is that Howard Webb wasn't there.
Yeah, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable, and people are putting up in the comments now about the time wasting as well. Yeah, I mean that we said at the beginning of the season that particular little idea that we're going to stamp down on it was going to last 4 or 5 games, and then it just go by the wayside. It's gone by the wayside. Allowing the game to flow for niggly little fouls, gone by the wayside. We knew it would, you know, because it does every single season. So, but anyway, whatever, you know, we'll be having this conversation whether we won, drawn, or lost the game.
Yeah, we would, yeah.
You know, after having to sit through that, but again, we knew what to expect when we came into this league. We knew that the standard of officiating was, in my view, it's not as good as it is in League One. I genuinely believe that. Yeah, we get some howlers in League One, but they're not professional. They're not paid to do that job. You know, they're still learning the trade, so you can accept that up to a point. But when these people are supposedly professional in inverted commas, in the sense of getting paid, you expect a higher standard, and that's just not acceptable. Anyway, whatever.
Chris Evans, it was really poor. He allowed them to waste so much time, which added to our frustration. Yeah.
Can I draw a quick highlight to Neil Liversidge's comment about what I shouted to the referee? Because I actually think he did hear me.
I don't know.
That was really bad.
Where is it?
Came in at 8:02, so fairly early.
Oh, let's go back up to the top, Neil. Neil Liversidge.
There we go. Yeah, I love what Danny shouted to the ref when he was going off. Wonder if he heard him. I think he might have. Yeah, I took criticism into my own hands because cupped hands, bellowing at the ref, get your effing glasses out for the second half, ref. And I think he might have done. There was a fella sat a couple of rows behind me holding his glasses out to the referee to use. I say apoplectic. It don't quite cover it, to be honest. But anyway, back to Mr. Oakley's comment that was very rudely cut off by myself.
Philip says the real cancer of the game is referees allow blatant time wasting. Woody mentioned this in his post-match interview, saying if it were the other way around, we'd do exactly the same. And he would, when we would. If we were 1-0 up to away from home, we were doing exactly the same. So again, we're not saying, Wigan, how dare you? What we're saying is referees need to police it better. Because if the boot was on the other foot, Wigan fans would be complaining about Rotherham United wasting time, like Preston did, and like QPR did. It happens in football. It's down to the referees to sort it out. And that's where the frustration is aimed at. It's not the opposition, unless it's Wickham. Don't know. I don't know what... Mike Miller's right point. So the referees are assessed to every game by experienced assessors. Yes, you're absolutely right, Mike. But that's not improving performances. And that's the job. I don't envy this job. That's the job that Howard Webber's got and other people around him to try and improve the standard of refereeing. Not necessarily at the top level, because for the most part, the referee at the top level is very, very good. For the most part. The problem's further down the pyramid. I mean, this is not really further down the pyramid, is it? It's the second tier. So it's not like it's tier 6. But anyway, any final points on that? Because we're talking about referees this season.
Yeah, why did he send Wes to the touchline in the second half?
Well, Wes went across for something. He didn't just go for a drink. He went. I don't know whether he had a cut on his hand or something. Wes went across for something, and then whatever it was deemed to be treatment, I suppose. I don't know. I've
never seen a throw-in have to be retaken twice.
That was funny. That was very funny. Shelley says it just from a Rotherham United point of view, it needed someone on the sidelines with a bit of authority to get into the fourth officials. Peltz tried, saw him stood up a few times, but he's just not used to it. Yeah, I said that, and the guy sat next to you, Mick. We don't know his name. I'm sorry, but said exactly the same thing. There's just not that presence, and this segues nicely onto the game itself. There's just not that presence. Peltier's his first game in the dugout is not going to be keying at fourth official what for when sometimes that's needed. And that maybe that played into it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the conspiracy theory there is that, you know, we're not... he's just going to get referee, thinks he can get away with not giving stuff just because there's no manager there, which is obviously nonsense. He just didn't give it because he didn't give it.
Sorry, just Mike Miller's got a comment. Referees may be good, they may be bad. In your opinion, to say they cheat is disgusting and defamatory. Nobody's saying that the referee cheated or was bent or anything like that. We're just saying it was rubbish. We're just saying he was incompetent on the day. Mick, go on.
Yeah, you're precisely, absolutely. It's nothing to do with cheating at all. That comes down to players. They're the ones that do that week in, week out of all teams, so in all colours. So that's another discussion altogether, isn't it? So what are you asking me? Sorry, I don't know.
Can't remember anymore.
I blew it once.
Yes. Let's move on to the game itself. We've got a comment about the atmosphere, which I have. Nicholas Skidmore. The atmosphere felt strange yesterday. Felt like there was a massive hole. Yeah, I said to Mick Danny before the game started, and I don't know why, because I don't often look over to the dugout and see Paul Warne there, but there was something very odd about the atmosphere, and the crowd. It's not the crowd went up for it, because at times they did get behind them, and I'm not going to lay into the fans at all because I felt it, so a lot of other fans would have felt the strangeness in the atmosphere, but it was really odd, weren't it? The atmosphere, right? It's just strange.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it almost felt like the crowd didn't quite know what to do because you know we've had a few songs about Paul Warne and his time here, and it's just as if like from the first whistle, we really tried to get behind the lads and get it going. And Wigan's goal, which I'm still a bit iffy on it if it were offside or not, that sort of took the wind, the very little wind that was in our sails out of it in terms of the crowd, and we just didn't quite know how to get it across that we wanted the lads to do well. Because you can't really fit in Wooden Pelt's Red Army without stumbling over your words a few times. So it just felt a bit flat, a bit like we just didn't quite know what to do. And I think it was besides that, Paul Warne took a big chunk out of the backroom staff with him to Derby, but I think he took a big chunk out of the atmosphere as well. So he might have took more with him than he thought by going to Derby, but anyway.
Yeah. Mick, you were on the vlog yesterday, which divided opinion, let's put it that way. I made my points very clear. My points haven't changed since yesterday. I suppose my essential point is that I feel like the players have been let down in terms of they've just been abandoned. They've been just left to look after themselves. Now, you can blame Paul Warne and Tony Stewart if you want. That's fine. I would go towards Paul Warne just sort of letting the players fend for themselves, having done so much for them, having helped them and everything else. It's like, right, go on and off your part. I'm off. There would have been other ways to fix it, in my opinion. You went on the instant reaction. What are your thoughts on what I said and the general feeling of the game, which was affected by the departure?
Yeah, it was. The atmosphere was just drab. Nobody seemed to know what to do, which I found a bit bizarre, really, because we needed to get behind team and to be fair, had the referee been really bad to start with in the game, that would have given that catalyst for the crowd to get behind the team and a world against you type of attitude. But I think it kind of, because it was spread out throughout the whole game, there was no one incident that really got the crowd up and going. So I don't know why that is. It's a massive change for everybody, and I think there was probably a bit of apprehension on behalf of the supporters as to how the players were going to react to the situation. And to be fair, they didn't react particularly well. Whether it was nerves, whatever, I don't know what it was, but the performance was very, very under par to what we've seen and what we've been used to this season. So, and it's been mentioned a few times in the comments there that and across social media today that they looked, ironically, having Woody in the team, we looked like we didn't have a leader. They looked a little bit lost. So I think it's really, really important that we get this managerial situation sorted sooner rather than later. And I think it will give the fans a bit of a lift and hopefully the team a bit of a lift. But yeah, I mean, as far as what you said on the post-match, I'm not really sure what's divided opinion, to be honest. I've not seen anything at all that offers a contrary opinion to what you said there. Anything. If there is one, then so be it. I agree with you. It does feel a little bit, and I put this out there just on the basis that it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction because we lost the game and we didn't perform well. But it does feel a little bit. I did when I walked out of the ground, when I walked out of New York Stadium yesterday, I felt aggrieved at Paul Warne and Richie Barker and Matt Amshaw. Now, that could be, and probably is, a childish reaction and a bit just knee-jerk. But on the flip side of that, if what we're told is true, what we understand to be true, that they've just basically upped and left last Wednesday or the Tuesday or whenever it was of that week and not said anything to any of the players, then that's out of order. We've spent 6 years at this club telling everybody how special they are, how important they are, how important the club is, how important loyalty is, how important the good human being, the relationship between people and all that. And then just to sort of up two fingers and walk away and leaving a week before the next league game, it feels a bit, I don't know, it feels wrong. But having said that, if we'd have won 2-0 yesterday, might have felt something completely different. So it's difficult, but I think they have left us in lurch, to be honest. But on the flip side of that, they've got a strap of pair on, all of them, haven't they? They're all big boys. They're all big boys now, and they can't. And they've been in football. All of them have been in football long enough to understand that these things happen. So yeah, I've not really said out there, have I? I do agree with what you said yesterday. 100%, I agree with what you said in that post match.
So. Yeah, thank you. A few people in the comment, Gerard Simpson, due to you with the same sort of thing. Danny, you were asking the question, so you didn't really get to have a view on it either. How do you feel about it, and how it affected the game? Because it had an effect on the game, didn't
it? Yeah, sorry, my ex-mate was just replying. Just repeat the question for me.
Just your thoughts on the what we mentioned in the instant reaction video last night about how you feel on how it was all left. Now we've had a game and it all happened. How would you feel on? We're not going to dwell on this too long because Paul Warne's gone, but just final thoughts on how it was left and how it's impacted the players and Richard Wood and Peltier.
I think the reaction to the post-match reaction is a little bit too far because it's an opinion. But as we know, if you express an opinion on social media, you get slated for it anyway. But in terms of the hole that Paul Warne's left, I think, yeah, he has left a hole, certainly in the management side of it, because he's took everybody with him. But at the same time, I think he's left a hole with the players as well, because the players might have known he was moving on beforehand, might have not. But they almost looked a little bit unprepared, if that makes sense. And they didn't quite know how to react to not having Warne in the dugout. The effort was there. The effort was certainly there. And at times we did play some good football. However, it just looked very uncohesive, to be honest. We really did look like a team that didn't have a permanent manager. Which is a shame because, like we've said, it was Lee Peltier's first time in the dugout. I don't think he did too badly. Say it was his first stab at it. But to have appointed Woody and Peltier, you could sort of see Woody was having about 3 jobs to do. He was having to do his own job, he was having to organise the team, and probably had one thought, or even more, on substitutes in the second half.
Yeah.
And also what he was going to say at half time to get the lads motivated. He was definitely more verbal on the pitch and definitely louder. So yeah, like I've said before, what I think Warne's left a bigger hole than he thought he'd leave. I think he thought that the players would be all right and they'd pick themselves up and get on with it, but he's not realised how big the hole actually is.
Yeah, and the disappointment from that is that Paul Warne's a very intelligent person. He understands football, he understands how these things work, and he understands the emotion that he's put in, which if he's put the emotion in, that means the players have. The players that he's signed, they've put the similar emotion in. I accept they maybe don't feel the pressure as the manager does, but they've still been invested in him as a club and everything else. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again, I just felt so sorry for the players. And there's only one thing you can put it down to, isn't there, for me? John Morrell says he did say we would learn more about the players this weekend. Yeah, true. Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely right. What it tells me is that they need a leader. They need a leader off the pitch as well as on the pitch. They're not going to sit and look after themselves as well. Football's not that. I might be maybe overcomplicating it. I don't think football's as simple as that anymore. You need help. You need people doing X, Y, and Z. You need somebody sorting substitutes out. You need somebody with the tactics board. They're saying when subs come on, you need to X, Y, and Z. It's a 3 and 4 man operation nowadays. Football, at least a 3. You look at the bigger clubs and how many men they've got in charge and we're in charge of these things. Their Billy Mercer there was obviously extremely experienced, but he's a goalkeeper, so I don't imagine he's telling Sean Dyche what subs to make at Burnley. He's doing the goalkeeping side of things. Don't know. Difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult, but ultimately the bottom line is the players knew what their responsibilities and jobs were yesterday, and they didn't. They for whatever reason they didn't perform to their ability, and what they did was they allowed Wigan to out Rotherham us, and that's twice this season we've been out Rotherhamed by Sunderland and by Wigan. Ironically, the two teams that came up with us, So we're going to have to move on to Wednesday now and hope that hopefully there'll be a manager in place by then. It won't have had obviously any opportunity whatsoever to do any training with the team, with the players, but nevertheless, having that figurehead back in there is going to assist us, you would hope. So we'll have to see how that pans out.
Yeah, well, and I can't go through his comments in the comments, but what I will say is that most people are agreeing with us, which is a shame. It's almost a shame because we all want to love Paul Warne. We know what Warne has done for the club, and we're having to sort of dig him out of it. We don't want to do that and didn't want to have to do that. But as fans, this is sort of how we feel towards it. Maybe not all the fans, but this is certainly how we feel towards it, which is it's a shame. This is how it's ended for now. But it is what it is.
I still give him a statue.
Maybe next year though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait for him to be sacked by Derby, and then he can have a statue here. That's the only reason he'd come back for the statue unveiling.
Yeah. Neil Liversidge, I think right points out, might have been better with Breckin helping out in the dugout. Really surprised not to see John Breckin in the dugout. Really surprised. It would have added that streetwise nous that I think we missed from a coaching point of view. But we're not going to dig into too many individual performances, I don't think, because I don't think you can. I don't think you can look too much into it. There was one player that had a good game, and that was Bucknott and Cuffy. I don't know if you two any thought. Let's give Victor a bit of praise, I suppose. The save at the end, anyway, against McLean, which led to a corner, which led to the goal. But Victor was solid, kicking once or twice off. But Victor and Bucknott and Cuffy were only two that come out with any credit. And
Rathbone as well. He
worked hard.
Yeah, he worked hard, and you can tell the referee doing something wrong when Ollie Rathbone is legit jumping up and down, trying to get his attention and screaming at him. Ollie Rathbone is a man with it's very close to my heart, because that would have been my reaction as well. I mean, you had Barlasser giving the referee lip as well, so it just goes to show that the passion is there from the players.
The bite were there, wasn't it?
Yeah, the bite were there, like, open your eyes, look what's happening. And but yeah, down to individual performances, Norton Cuffy head and shoulders above the rest. He absolutely killed McLean on that left-hand side, to the point where McLean had to keep fouling him, like we've already mentioned, that wasn't picked up on. But anyway, gloss over that. It was very good down that right-hand side, very, very tricky, and very good with his feet. Maybe can get a little bit more loft in his crosses if we have to cherry-pick a little bit of criticism, but
they were better though. First half, they were loads better.
Yeah. But yeah, Norton Cuffy head and shoulders above the rest. I think he has cemented his place probably on that right-hand side now in the wing-back position. And fingers crossed, if we get a manager in who likes to play the wing-back system, Norton Cuffy is an easy sell for the starting 11 for our next manager.
Yeah, so Arsenal don't call him back in January.
I mean, we are Arsenal Fan TV to a point where we don't want them to recall him.
Yeah. Mick, before I ask you a negative, is there any positives you want to pick out from the performance? Mentioned a couple. Is there anything else you can pick out as a positive? Before I ask you
obviously Victor played. We're outstanding. Pulled some really good saves off. Some exceptional saves. Brave when he needed to be. Got absolutely wiped out a couple of times, and no action taken. There was one particular one in the second half where it was so late. I don't know. The challenge was so late. It's only just happened. You know what I mean? And again, no action was taken. So I thought Victor played really, really well. Barlasser tried his best, but the Wigan knew that was one of our key areas, so they kind of marked him out of the game, to be fair. So yeah, with the exit, other than that, I think everybody else probably Woody was distracted, so but everybody else looked nervous.
Yeah, or not involved in the game, or not. Again, let's mention Ben Wiles. It's a tough one, Mick. We've talked about him a lot. We've talked about it a lot this season, more than I thought we would from a negative point of view. I thought he looked like he was trying to stay away from the ball at times. I don't think he was trying to come and drop for it at all. I thought his movement was very, very poor. And again, because of the circumstance, I'm very reluctant to dig him out. Because he's a Rotherham boy, and I think we should back him wherever possible. But I thought he really stood out as somebody who just didn't look ready. Ian Colker's put in the comments now, it looked totally lost. And I think I didn't think Rathman did well, but he ran about. Barlas had tried, but he was marked out of the game. Chio and Washington, they couldn't get it right, but they ran around a lot. And I really struggled with Ben Wiles yesterday. It was a really disappointing performance from a full circle.
Yeah, it was. He's had his head turned in the summer by Burnley, and that was turned down. Whether it was turned down by Warne or whether it was turned down by Tony Stewart.
That's another thing, isn't it? If Warne's turned it down and then done one.
Well, either way, whether it's Warne or Tony Stewart that's turned it down, it's been turned down. So that's already affected his performance, and then he's lost his mentor. He's lost the person who's been there, the one constant throughout the whole time that he's come up through this club. He's gone as well, so his head's not going to be in the right place anyway, and his form has dropped. For me, he needs some time away from the first team on match days, whether it be on the bench or not even on the bench. But I think on the bench is probably where he needs to be, just to get himself either back in the right place or wait while January comes around and he can have that shot again. I don't know where obviously none of us know where he is mentally, but he's certainly not out on the pitch for a lot of it. It's a shame, but he's had a lot going on. A lot's gone on, and I'm trying to be balanced. I'm not happy clapping. I'm just trying to be balanced here. You know what I mean? He's a young kid, and maybe he's just not quite got that emotional experience yet to deal with what's been going off.
No, I think you're possibly right. Danny, anything you want to add on the Wilesy one?
I think there's just one other thing to factor in. He's lost his mentor as well, Wiles, because his mentor's been Matt Amshaw since he was 9. So that must have had some sort of psychological effect on him that he's now gone. And maybe it's all just starting to weigh on Wiles a little bit. That might be leading to the poor performances or what, I don't know. That's his business, and it's also his business to rectify it. But I do think with Warne being here, he saw the good in Ben Wiles, and that's why he played him so consistently. But maybe when the new manager comes in, he might see just the performance and not the ability, and might swap him out for Lindsay, which then might wobble Wiles' head like, right, I need to kick on a bit and improve. But again, that's all ifs and maybes for me. But yeah, it's a shame in Wiles because we know how good he can be. He's just not applying it effectively, I think is the best way to word it.
Yeah, agreed. Basically, the comments agrees with that as well. For John Simpson points out he's supposed to be professional, though. Lindsay should get his chance. I agree with the Lindsay one. John C. Wiles, he needs to fight for his place. Yeah, at the minute he's not fighting for his place. He's again, I feel about he's playing like his place is sorted. He ain't going to worry about it. That's sort of how he's playing at the minute.
Yeah, a bit of complacency in there, isn't there?
Yeah,
perhaps. I don't know. Again, it feels like digging him out, doesn't it? And maybe not. We'll see.
No, we don't. We don't like digging any player out. To be honest with, we never really have to.
Mate. You don't.
Yeah. Look, I hope it comes on. I hope he plays Wednesday and scores 3 goals. I hope it happens genuinely because obviously we'll win. Paul Brock says Wes's passing in the first half was poor. Yeah, Paul Davis put this in his article. Basically, Wes is consistent and he's really good, but every so often he's got a stinker at locker and just happened to be one of those days. And on Wednesday he'll be brilliant again, won't he?
Yeah, because Wes is one of them characters where he does study his performance, and if he's had a honker, he'll just improve on it and get better with it. But then he'll have another one, but then he'll also improve on that one as well. He's very methodical footballer in terms of improving his own game, which is another reason why I like him.
Yeah. Rob Scott. I assume it's not the Rob Scott, but Rob Scott says spot on, Mick. I'm the Rob Scott. Hi, Rob.
Rob, get yourself in dugout. You've managed football teams before.
Yeah, exactly. Just a few more comments. Jamie says, got really annoyed with the whole Paul Warne thing on Saturday situation. On Saturday, felt so sorry for the players. They look lost. Massive respect to Woody and Peltz. Nicholas Skidmore agrees with the press wasn't there, and when it wasn't right. Winning the first and second contact wasn't brilliant. I have to say it was way off it. Yeah, let's give some credit to Woody and Lee Peltier, Danny. And I know we lost, and I know the performance wasn't there, but they stepped up. They stepped up and did everything they possibly could. Yeah, we accept it didn't go right, and they will look at what they did wrong for their future, because that's possibly something they'll do in future. But they put their hand up and stood up to be counted, and did everything they possibly could.
Yeah, you have to admire the balls of the pair of them to actually stand up and say, right, we'll take training and we'll do it. Because not many people that do that. Not many people just comfy being, the one on the pitch playing. But for Woody to take so much on, I mean, even in the latest advertising article, you've seen how much he's took on. And they've both said that the analytical side of management was a surprise for them, but they've still took it on and done the best with it. So that's admiration straight away for just getting on with it and doing it. Like you say, didn't go right. The subs were a little bit questionable, to be honest, but we'll maybe talk about that in a second. But from a stepping up when you're called upon point of view, fair play to both of them.
Yeah. 100%. It's worth mentioning the programme yesterday. Woody basically said, I'll read you the quote that Ben picked out. It basically, in terms of taking the job, potentially, it's basically was asked, would I like to go into management one day? Definitely. If there ever came a time I was asked seriously about it, I would certainly be very interested. So that says to me that he could be, if he was asked to take it tomorrow, there would be a consideration. Now, that's if Matt Taylor rejects it and blah, blah, blah. But that was just a telling comment. In the programme, which is always worth looking at. Woody looked gutted at the end. JLM Sims looked gutted in his post-match. Yeah, he didn't sound defeated, Mick. He just sounded a bit tired. It just sounded mentally exhausted. You know, when you just sort of speaking, but you sound tired. We you know how that feels sometimes. Everybody knows how that feels.
He didn't sound happy, did he?
No.
He did not sound happy. And my overriding thought when I was listening to him speaking was, I'm glad I weren't in that changing room.
Yeah.
Because I suspect he might have had a few harsh words to say. Because as a whole, I'm not necessarily individually, but as a whole, the team let him down. And he was part of that team, obviously, but so he just sounded fed up. It's not the right time for Woody. But I think we both said it while we were listening to that interview. He's not there yet. He's not there as a manager. He's just not there yet. But he will be. But he's got far too much on his plate at the moment, captaining the team. So it's not time at all.
John Morell, and I completely agree with this. If Woody gets the gig as a player manager full time, then something's gone seriously wrong behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think there is anything gone seriously wrong. I genuinely don't. I don't think there's anything massive that we don't know about. He says, nailing his close to Mass and looking like a complete arse tomorrow.
When Matt Tiller turns it down tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm not going there because it's toxic or whatever.
The good thing about Matt Tiller is clearly, if he's not going to take the job, sounds like he's going to tell us why.
Yeah.
There's no Mark Bonner playing loyalty card. Matt Tiller will sound like he will tell us why. Interesting. JB, please mention the bizarre substitutions. I have sympathy for Peltier, who was probably the one that made the substitutions. I saw with Tommy. Tommy was just coming for an amazing amount of stick, and I sort of get it. He was kind of Washer was taken off. Tommy came on rather than Georgie Kelly. And I sort of get it, Danny, because if you're Lee Peltier, who was looking after the team, you go for the experienced man. You don't necessarily take the risk of Georgie Kelly, who's still a little bit of an unscored goals, but he's still a little bit of an Tom Eaves should be able to be relied on as a senior pro. So that's a bit of a defence, I suppose, but it just didn't work, did it?
Yeah, the key word in that being should be relied upon. I can understand why the sub is made, because Tommy is your big man up top, and we were playing a lot of long balls in the first half and in the second half. But in hindsight, at least, seeing the effort that Tommy's put in terms of running the channel and trying to press the ball, Georgie Kelly would have been the better option, because George is the one who gets stuck in. And at that point in the game, you needed the man who gets stuck in and properly fights for every ball. A bit like an Ollie Rathbun character, but up top, which is what Georgie Kelly is. And it almost seemed like there was no point in bringing Georgie on 86-ish minutes, I think it was. Because it just felt like it was too late for him to make a real impact. He should have come on maybe 70 minutes or even before. But that's the miracle of hindsight. You can have that opinion when it's already happened, but at the time, the football we were playing, Tom Eaves looked the better option, which is a shame to say. And who did Rathbun come off for?
Lindsay.
I
got that, but Wilder should have come off. Wilder should not have been on pitch that long.
Yeah, I would have said Wilder to come off instead of Lindsay, because Ollie Rathbun was running himself into the ground, and
he can give that spark, can't he? Rathbun.
Yeah. I mean, if we're saving him for Wednesday, right, fair enough. But all the people around me were saying, well, we've took Rathbun off. He's been our best player in midfield. He's been the only one making an effort in midfield. And yeah, Julian Simpson brings it up perfectly. Rathbun didn't expect to go off at all. You saw the shock in his face, because I think we would just either line up for a throw-in or a corner or something. And he looked at the number go up and just goes, seriously? Like, he was not ready to go off. He had more to give in that game, which is a shame. But anyway, it's happened now, isn't it?
Yeah. The second loss, Danny mentioned, Mick, 86 minutes, Cohen Bramwell comes off for Shane Ferguson. Again, a sensible, understandable substitution. And Georgie Kelly finally comes in 87 minutes. That was 10 minutes too late. That should happen on 70, 75 minutes to allow them a bit of time. Because at the time, it would have been 1-0, wouldn't it? If they come on 77 minutes. And it just gives you that extra bit of motivation. You know what George is like. We know what Georgie Kelly's like. He'll run around like a madman, and something can happen. Something special can happen. But this is what's going to happen when you put any experienced people in charge. Not a dig, by the way, at Peltier and Woody, but if you put them in charge, I bet they've been second guessing that sub for 10 minutes, and that's what's caused the delay, probably.
Yeah, I'm not convinced they hadn't already decided which subs were going on.
Yeah,
that's just the feeling that I got. Right, we're going to make these two are going to come on then, these two are going to come on then, and whatever. You know what I mean? I might be wrong. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I didn't realise Tom Eaves had been getting stick on social media.
so not as much as us, but some.
Oh, right. Well. The jury's still out for me. I'm not convinced. He's a very Paul Warne kind of player, and maybe he should be with Paul Warne in League One. That's my view at the moment.
I think he'll come good. I think he needs minutes.
Well, we'll see.
I think.
Yeah.
We've got to talk about Millwall yet, and we've had about 1,000 million comments from everybody. Just Mike the Miller, we lost recriminations, therefore, against Warne, so predictable. Come on, we can do better than this. Just to sort of underline this, nobody on this podcast wants to say anything bad about Paul Warne. We've talked about this 1,000 million times. The memories he's given us over the last 6 years have been sensational, longer than 6 years. Nobody wants to dig him out. But this is what it feels like as us. This is what we all agree. This is what certain other people think as well. Nobody wants to dig him out. But when we can only call what we see, and that's what we see, and that's what it feels like. Paul Warne will always go down as a Robin legend.
He's took stuffing out of us. That's honestly how it feels. But like you say, regardless of what's happened behind the scenes or how we feel right now, Warne will always be a Rotherham legend. You know, he played nearly 300 times for us, and he managed nearly 300 times for us. That's 600 Rotherham games he has at least played some part in, which is crazy. And yeah, like I've already said, build the statue. You know, spend the money, build the statue, because he's probably the first proper Rotherham legend in the New York Stadium era that wasn't playing and was manager. There's an argument for Steve Evans, but might cost a little bit with the metal for him. So yeah, build the statue, Tony. Warne deserves it. You know, he's won the first cup in the modern era, in the New York era with Rotherham. He's the first Rotherham manager to achieve promotion and a cup in the same season. Didn't quite get the championship survival over the line, but regardless, build the statue for him. Even if it's on the south stand where nobody can see it, build the statue for him.
But that doesn't exempt him from criticism. That doesn't exempt him from stuff that we see and call, which I think is the important part. You can be a legend, but also do stuff wrong, and that's where we are. So I'm certain that's not the last time we'll talk about that. But there we go. So let's go forward. Final comment on the Wigan game. Curtis Tilt opinions. He looked solid. I'm beginning to think we may have lost a good player, never got a chance. He caused Woody all sorts of problems, Mick, in the attacking sense and the defensive sense. I was annoyingly impressed with Curtis Tilt yesterday.
Yeah, I was begrudgingly. Yeah. I don't know whether there's no love lost for between him and Woody. I don't know whether there's something gone off behind the scenes when he was here or whatever. But no, listen, he was outstanding yesterday. Top lad. And even tried to get the ball to that lad in crowd. Poor lad threw it back to him, didn't it? which I thought, I mean, it's a little thing, but it's a nice touch. Yeah. It is a nice touch. You know, he pointed out, we were going to throw a ball to, you can have this. And I thought, that's all right, that's good. That's nice.
And then the kid threw it back.
Then he threw it back. But I think they were reunited in end, so that's the main thing.
Yeah. Mike the Miller says we should get a statue for Gavin Ward, perhaps. Yeah, we could. And then we can, like, every time Mick wants to shout at a referee, he can just go to the Gavin Ward and just scream.
Right, it's a good idea. It's like a bit like therapy, yeah. I like that.
Yeah. I'd personally feed the pigeons under that statue, but anyway.
Yeah, I like it. We have another comment from Rackler. If I'm not saying that right, apologies. He says, right, seriously, at the start of the season, I told us we'd be this far in, only lost twice, we'll be over the moon. Just one game, move on. Can we stop sounding like our noisy neighbours in S6? Yeah, that's a valid point. When the new manager comes in, we'll be all buzzing again. We'll all be happy as Larry and everything again. It feels like a lull and a kick in the gut, doesn't it? And we haven't recovered from the kick in the gut. And Saturday added another kick, didn't it? I think.
We get up and we move on, don't we? Because we've got Millwall.
Oh, yes, yep. Millwall. I think South Yorkshire Police were very happy that this was scheduled for a Wednesday night. So they won't move it.
Aren't we?
Well, you know, there's some nice ones probably. Sorry, Millwall fans, we are kidding. We know. I know for a fact there's a few nice ones.
Please don't break the chairs again.
Yeah, and if you're not one of the nice ones, I didn't mean it. You're all really lovely. So this is difficult, Danny, because we don't know who's going to be manager. So we don't know how to call it. We don't know whether we could even change formation. What do you see for look into your crystal ball by Wednesday? What will Rotherham United look like?
Eves can keep far away from the starting 11 from the match day 18. No. I'm gonna say what I think should happen, because I think the only thing we've got left now is opinions. Because really, we've got no idea what's going to happen. Yeah. You know, because anything could be seen in training, anything could happen with injuries now, and we don't have a manager's ethos to try and channel into because we've not got a permanent manager. So what I'd like to see is Ogbenny and Kelly up front from the first minute. Give Kelly his start, because even if it's for 45 minutes, 60 minutes, we know he will get stuck in and really take the game to him. And I think with Millwall's current away record, we need to do that. We need to get stuck in from the first minute and really take the game to him. First goal is going to be very crucial. So I think having someone who we know where the net is, which Georgie does know, and Chio, who's bagged a few, up top, that would work very well. Maybe have Wiles on the bench and start Lindsay, because we've got a busy schedule coming up. And Wiles needs that little bit of time just for himself, as we've already discussed. I would keep the back line the same with Woody and Hall, but potentially bring Humphreys into it. I was very surprised to see Humphreys on the bench to start with. So Humphreys, Woods and Hall at the back for me. And then we can discuss changes after that. But I think the crucial point now is we need a good performance, not just to settle the caretaker staff, but also to settle the fans as well. We've already experienced what it's like to not have that little hole there now that Warne's gone. So we need something to really get the fans back up and running as well. And a strong performance against Millwall would do just that. I think we might need a fair few stewards there as well, and we need that mesh up that we had deployed as well. But yeah, we just need to settle everything down. That'll be the telling point. If we can't settle it down on Wednesday, then we are in a little bit of trouble. But a strong performance against Millwall would settle a lot of people down. It'd settle roughly 10,000 people down, which would be ace, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. John Morrell says, if there's one team I want to play after what we've been through, Millwall. However, Gary Rowett is under pressure with their fan base, but it's the type of game they do well. And yeah, they sit lower mid-table, 1 point away from home, as Danny alluded to there, Mick. I agree with the Georgia Kelly thing. Georgia Kelly already put easy. I'm not bothered either way. I think I was surprised. I know Woody was trying to keep everything the same, but I think that's very difficult to do when the voice is different. The same message doesn't ring true, does it? Even if it's a different voice. So that's why I was a little bit surprised not to see just an option up top to allow us to go more direct at times. So that's why I think whether Matt Taylor's in charge or not, I think we'll see Georgia Kelly or Tommy start with, I assume, Chio.
Yeah, I'd like to see Kelly start. I'm not sold on Tom Eaves at the moment. I'm just not. But we'll have to wait and see. Things are going to change. I suspect things will have changed between now and Wednesday. We might have already done another podcast where we can look forward to the Millwall game with a little bit more certainty between now and then. I imagine. Yeah, I'm not going to call anything. I don't think you can. I'm reasonably confident we're going to have a manager in place by Wednesday. Reasonably confident.
Oh, I hope.
So it's going to be really difficult to call anything. We just need, as has been mentioned a few times in comments, we just need a performance. We need a performance from the team, but we need a performance from us the crowd as well. You know, we had the situation again on Saturday, didn't we? You know, we got 2-0 down, and all of a sudden, stadium empties. It's like watching Man U, isn't it? You know, it's like watching Man U stadium. But anyway, that's whatever. People have got the reasons. That's fine, but we need to get behind them. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be quite a big day, I think.
Yes, I hope so. Andy Wignall says, will you be doing an emergency podcast if a manager gets announced? Yes. The emergency protocol will be getting activated should there be such an announcement, whenever that is. If not, then we won't back until Thursday. But there could very well be an emergency podcast on Monday, hopefully. Hopefully. That's without inside information as well. This is not a source we've been given. I'm just really hoping that we have something to talk about tomorrow night. On Monday night, sorry. Would you change anything else, Mick? And Danny's mentioned a couple of other bits. We talked about strikers from you just then. Is there anything else you'd change?
Yeah, I'd probably have Woody on bench.
Okay.
I'd probably have Woody and Peltz on bench together, or in technical area. We've got Grant Hall that's more than capable of stepping into that central defensive role. We've got Cam Humphreys, why he didn't play on Saturday is beyond me, I'll be honest. We've also got McCart,
chance.
And Wes, who I had a bit of a howler by his standards on Saturday, but so we've got plenty of cover in that area. So if there's no manager in place, I'd be having Woody and Lee Peltier in technical area so they can concentrate on the job of managing the team. We've got enough quality everywhere else to be more than comfortable. So, you know, I don't see anything else changing. I do agree with Danny. I'd like to see Georgie Kelly given a chance, something a little bit different. But I want to steer away from this big man up top. I really do. I don't want to see it, because the football that we've played when we hadn't had that big man up top has been so much better to watch, so much more effective in this division.
The problem is,
way to go.
The problem with that is that way of playing without that is you've got to have a good background. It's got to have something good behind you from a coaching point of view and a messaging point of view.
Yeah, but that's been there. That's been there all season, Matt. It's not going to disappear just after a week.
But it did.
Well,
that's sort of my point. That maybe we're going back a bit, but there was always going to be a loss of messaging because of the circumstance. That's why, as a temporary measure, until the new man comes in, you just go basic. Not completely. That's just not long. But you give yourself plan B when plan A is not working. And I think I agree with both of you. That's where Kelly comes in, or Tom Eaves, whichever one you want to do it. It just gives you that option. Nobody wants to see us go route one all the time, obviously, but it's just a plan B, and I think we missed that. That's one of the things we missed on Saturday that I would like to see until we get a new man in, whatever that may be. Who knows? Who knows when that will be? Predictions. I'm going to start by giving myself a pat on the back because I said 2-0 Wigan. I take zero pleasure in that. So again?
Well done.
Yeah, I take zero pleasure in that. So thanks.
Well
sorry. That's what I'm looking for. Sorry.
That's what I'm looking for, yeah.
So I'll let somebody else go first. Danny, what do we think from Millwall?
Let's think. Well, we definitely need a reaction, and Woody said we're probably going to try and get a reaction on Wednesday, which is good to hear. So I will say we will absolutely finesse Millwall 1-0, and Georgie Kelly's going to score.
87th minute winner again.
Possibly for our own safety, I'd like to see it around 60 minutes. But yeah, if we just win or even draw tomorrow, I'm happy. But a win would be much nicer.
It would. Michael?
I'll take a draw now. Just give me a point. Let's walk away and let's get a new manager in. One apiece.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go 0-0. I think it's going to be drab. We know their form that they're in at the minute. John Morrell says 1-1, but it's Millwall and Rowett. Draw is what they do. Let's see. The clean sheet would be lovely, wouldn't it? Get back to clean sheets.
Yeah.
Let's go through the predictions. Nicholas Skidmore says 2-1. Ian Colcuff 2-0. John Siege wants a clean sheet. Palmad UK says 3-0 to Millwall if we don't have a manager. Andy Wignall says 2-0 loss. S64 Miller brings back the positivity with a 2-0 win. She thinks Chio and Kelly up top. Kim Haywood says 1-0 as well.
Can I just chuck something in with people saying clean sheet and stuff like that, and potentially even a 3-0 loss? I saw a thing today that said we are still like the 5th best defence in the EFL at the minute. In the EFL, it might be the EFL, I'm not completely sure, but the defence...
It weren't EFL, it was Rotherham.
Oh. But yeah, whatever poll they've used to show that data, it's still very impressive where we are right now. And I don't think it's the defence's fault. I think it's the overall application where the issue is. So if we can crack that for Wednesday, we should be all right. Famous last words, but we should be all right.
Yeah. Paul says 2-0, Stuart Humphries 3-1. Noel Jordan says 1-0 to the referee. We haven't done ref watch. I have got it prepared. Referee is Dean Whitestone. He last refereed us in the lockdown season. He refereed us in the 3-1 win against QPR, which was the Tuesday game during the week of death. We went 1-0 down, and he's refereed Millwall more than any other club he's refereed in his refereeing career. He's refereed Millwall 27 times. With a mixed result. There's no sort of pattern to it, but yeah, that's just slightly interesting stat. He's not got many yellow cards, much like Mr. Davies. didn't have many cards prior to Saturday. Read into that what you will. Oh, dear.
He likes to give penalties.
A lot of penalties in there. Yes, you're right. I did notice that. Yes, you're right.
Chio, you know what to do.
11 penalties in 33 games.
Wow.
So that's one every 3 games. That's very
one every 3 games. I'll find out when his last penalty was.
If it were 3 games ago, we're in luck.
Yeah, so we drafted before. I generally can't remember anything good, which is good, which is very, very good in theory. Yeah, he's given 3 penalties this season. He hasn't given one. He hasn't given one since 17th of September, but that was his last game. He's not due a penalty.
That's good. That'll do.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you all for being involved today.
I've been passed something from Mother to sign off with.
Is it breaking news? Was that Taylor signed?
No, it's motherly advice for the entire fan base.
Oh, we can always take that.
Yeah, she says the fans need to get under the team and sing and encourage them on Wednesday.
Under them?
Yeah, get underneath them and lift them.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I like it.
So that's advice from my mother. So there you go.
I think Mike 61 Miller's got exactly the same opinion as well. So yeah, to put our difference of opinion behind us on Wednesday, get behind the team, regardless if they go 1 or down. Nothing worse than getting the players back, particularly now. Absolutely. You know, we've got to play our part in this. So, you know, we're allowed an opinion, and we're all allowed to shout his opinion and come on here and explain it and everything else. But we have got a job to do and all.
Yes. Yes, we have. Thank you very much for being with us. Danny, vlog up Monday morning? Hopefully. Yes. Perfect. If you want to hear Daniel Dungliff swearing, go watch the vlog. Because there will be some. We will be back. If there is an appointment, we will be doing an emergency pod, so keep an eye on the channels. If you see Matt Taylor appointed tomorrow, just assume we're doing a podcast at 8 o'clock on Monday or Tuesday evening, because we will. Thank you all who have been in touch over the last 24 hours or so. We appreciate the comments, and I know you don't all agree with us. But, you know, it's football, isn't it? We've all got difference of opinions. We've had some very kind messages off some people, and we do especially appreciate people who have reached out privately as well as publicly. Just trying to keep the conversation going, aren't we? Not trying to be divisive, but sometimes it happens, doesn't it? That's football. Football can be very divisive, but it can also bring people together, and that's where we are. If you have watched this, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you've not enjoyed it or enjoyed it, just subscribe anyway. If you're listening audibly on iTunes, Spotify, make sure you've subscribed on there as well, because you can listen to it there as well. Again, for housekeeping, the urgency pod will just be YouTube, Facebook only. It won't be audio only. So keep an eye out for that if you want to get involved in that. Because I know loads of people like those. We like doing those ones when there's something positive. We haven't had a positive emergency podcast yet.
No, we haven't actually.
No, we haven't. So we might get a positive emergency podcast. That'd be lovely.
By definition, most emergencies are not positive, are they? I'm just saying.
I suppose you're right. This would be a positive one. This would be a positive.
Yeah,
anyway,
hey, Daniel's got a ghost behind you. Oh no, it's gone now.
Do you want to wave as you come past? There we go.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mick. Thank you, Danny. I will probably see you before Wednesday, but if not, I'll see you Wednesday.
All right. Ta-ra.
Ravel, vicious, but brilliant! Mule with it, Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it!